Good morning. It's Wednesday, and it's time for the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We do this every Monday through Friday from our studios here in Norfolk, Virginia, serving Southeast Virginia, Northeast North Carolina. And as I now like to say, with our reach digitally, we serve the entire country and other parts of the world as well. Anybody can check us out when you have the 13 News Now Plus ready to go through your streaming devices. We're here for you each and every weekday starting at 9 a.m. As I mentioned, I'm a meteorologist. Long time I've been at this. I started back in May of 1989. So if you thought I was in my 20s, a little bit older than that. Maybe you didn't think that, but at any rate, I've had a lot of experience and I've worked all over the country, and we're going to talk about some of the different topics going on from across the country. One of the places I lived as a small child up in New Jersey, lived up in the township of Howell, New Jersey, and I will tell you, areas south of Howell, really down along the coastal sections of New Jersey, there are wildfires. It is a big issue. We're going to talk about that and how some of the smoke there has actually kind of been working down along through the mid-Atlantic. I'll show you where that smoke is headed next. And if it's headed to your area, you'll be able to see it on the maps here. We're also going to talk about nature flexing it up a bit. What am I talking about? Well, we've got volcanic activity, 2 different volcanoes. We've talked about a little bit over the past couple of days, but we're going to revisit kind of what the latest is on that volcanic activity. There was a pretty good sized earthquake earlier this morning over in Turkey. We're going to talk about that and where they're now feeling some aftershocks. And then we're going to talk about how tsunamis form. The center of that earthquake was actually out over the water. We're going to talk about how the tsunamis can sometimes form from things like underwater earthquakes. So we'll talk about all of that coming up. And then we woke up to a lot of rain across Hampton Roads. If you were up early this morning, rain was widespread. It was moderate to heavy. We even had some lightning associated with some thunderstorms that came rolling through. Quite a bit of lightning. At one point in about a 20-minute period, I had counted around 44 lightning strikes. So that's what our detection was picking up. We'll look ahead to the weekend and our next chances for storms coming up as well. So plenty to cover here from the Weather Desk today, and we're going to start with what's going on up in New Jersey. You see the rain that came through, but it's up here. I want to take you to New Jersey, the Garden State, and this is where we find the firefighters with their hands full. They are up in New Jersey working to contain several wildfires. We can show you the Jones Road fire. We're going to talk about that. And again, this is a pretty big one up there in Ocean County, north of Atlantic City. So far, flames have burned more than 8,000 acres, only 10% containment right now, and 3,000 residents have been forced from their homes, and more than 1,300 buildings are at risk of catching fires. ABC's Rhiannon Alley has a closer look at the efforts to get those wildfires under control.
Overnight, a massive wildfire tearing through Ocean County, New Jersey, forcing some 3,000 people to evacuate their homes. The blaze nearly doubling in size yesterday, reaching at least 8,500 acres with only 10% contained overnight. Parts of the Garden State Parkway were shut down and more than 1,300 buildings were threatened, including a former nuclear plant. Crews attacking the fire from the air and on the ground, heavy winds fueling the flames. One man looking on in horror as the fire closed in on his neighborhood.
As the day progressed, it was kind of scary. You know, you didn't know exactly what was going to happen. Should you leave? Should you stay? What should you take with you?
Power was cut to 25,000 local customers to protect firefighters.
With no lights, no power, no gas stations open, convenience stores, everything's closed. There's cops on every corner. It's just a very eerie feeling.
Rhiannon Alley, ABC News, New York.
All right, shelters have been opened for evacuees, and as we mentioned earlier, the flames are threatening several buildings, while some have already burned down. Take a look at damage assessments. They are going on right now, and they are going to continue as they just assess all of this. The cause of the fire is also under investigation. All right, we're going to take a look at the fire, and I told you I'd talk a little bit about the smoke that is coming off of that. As we pick up the smoke forecast and the modeling, you'll notice this morning some of that smoke has actually been drifting to the southwest. This is through 10 o'clock this morning, back down across Maryland, Delaware there into Maryland, even parts of the eastern shore and over towards the northern neck and middle peninsula. You may be sensing a little bit of haze in the atmosphere. I know we had our rain down across the south side in North Carolina a little bit earlier, but some of those areas that didn't see as much off to the north now dealing with a little bit of that wildfire smoke stemming from that fire up in New Jersey. So what happens next? Well, here's what the model does. You can see as we go through the afternoon, we still have that smoke very intense up around the site of the wildfires and then kind of wafting down to the southwest. Eventually, it's going to shift a little bit as the winds go light and we get more of a northeast flow here. We're going to see, again, fine air quality here. We'll be okay. But the smoke from this wildfire are going to shift back to the west and eventually off to the northwest of that location. So some more fire smoke kind of wafting off to the west and eventually to the north. And as we pick this up again, you're going to see that intense smoke heading up. This is by tomorrow evening, 7:15, heading up towards New York City and perhaps the Big Apple itself, and then areas back across Long Island and into Connecticut as we get into early Friday. Again, it's just kind of the modeling on the smoke, but that's how things are looking to go over the next 24 to 48 hours. We will, of course, keep a close eye on the progress and efforts to contain those wildfires, and we'll keep you updated here from the weather desk tomorrow and as we get towards the weekend. Let's take a look at what's going on. You see across the country some unsettled weather back across Texas. We're going to get more into the forecast here in a moment and what will eventually find its way back towards the East Coast a little bit later on. But I want to take you down to Costa Rica, and we have our volcano there. Right now, authorities in Costa Rica are warning tourists to keep their distance from the Poas volcano. The volcano, which is about an hour or so north of San Jose, erupted for 6 minutes on Monday, sending a column of ash and smoke into the air. We showed this video. It was just incredible to see this as it was happening. Scientists have noted that the volcano has been showing an increase in activity since March. This is now leading to enhanced restrictions on tourist visits, and this is a very, very popular tourist destination down in Costa Rica. All right, it's not a complete suspension, but they are watching, and in the meantime, volcanologists, I was going to spit that out, have been collecting samples from the volcano. Poas is currently in an orange alert, which is the 3rd level out of 4. All right, we take a look at Poas here. Again, it's about an hour north of San Jose, and we will continue to update that again, that code orange, level 3 of 4 on that. Now, you know, this isn't the only volcano we've been keeping an eye to. We've also been watching over on the Big Island, Mount Kilauea, and I can tell you Kilauea is still active out there, and it's been picking up activity since December. Mount Kilauea has been erupting off and on for months now, and yesterday again with this most latest round here, look at the fountains of lava just spewing into the air. It's amazing to see this. Yesterday marked the 18th episode for the volcano since late December. Scientists say that episode, what you're seeing there, lasted for several hours with vents on both the north and the south side shooting lava into the air. Just amazing to see that. All right, you can see the winds around the volcano kind of moving off to the north. There's some that are spilling off to the south, so kind of light and variable winds right now going on. We're going to turn our attention from those volcanoes to earthquakes, and as we expand the view here from Hawaii, and there's a little tremor there that was detected by seismologists. There was nothing significant there around Hawaii. There was a little something off the Japanese coast, but this bigger one, this is what we want to focus on and its impact as it was just felt just off to the southwest of Istanbul. So you take a look here and you see the bigger earthquake right here. This one was rated 6.2. It was that magnitude. The earthquake shook Turkey overnight for our time locally. You can see that was around 12:49 their time in Turkey. The depth of that, about 6 miles. Scientists believe the epicenter about 30 miles or so off the coast of Istanbul. There have also been several powerful aftershocks, but so far there haven't been any reports of damage or injuries. I want to show you very quickly some of these aftershocks. You can see there was one here that was a pretty good size, about 5.0. Again, that depth around 6 miles. That took place about 1 o'clock their time locally. So they had the biggest earthquake, then they've had some strong aftershocks. And this one right here, within the hour, you can see we had a 4.0 magnitude earthquake. So some of these aftershocks have been pretty strong, and they are still continuing even within the hour. Now, Turkey is crossed by two major fault lines, which means earthquakes are more frequent there. You may remember last February, a 7.8 magnitude quake and a powerful aftershock destroyed thousands of buildings and killed more than 53,000 people. Now, you take a look, aftershocks are not the only concern here. When you have something, and we'll come back to these earthquakes, they're occurring out over water, you have to be concerned with the threat of tsunamis. And tsunami warnings are often associated with these types of earthquakes. There is not one, and I just checked to see if there were any warnings issued around these quakes. Right now, as I checked the international tsunami warnings, there's nothing active at this point, but they can and do develop sometimes around these offshore earthquakes. Meteorologist Hunter Forst explains how tsunamis form.
A tsunami is a series of waves caused by a significant and sudden movement of water in the ocean. The most common trigger for tsunamis is large earthquakes that occur beneath or near the ocean floor, but they can also be caused by landslides, volcanic eruptions, and meteorite impacts as well. Tsunamis spread out in all directions from their point of origin and can travel across entire ocean basins, around islands, and even up into bays and rivers. In the deep ocean, tsunami waves are often too small to notice. However, they can approach the shore, and as the water becomes shallower, the waves increase in height. The speed of these waves is influenced by the depth of the ocean. In the deeper water, they can travel at speeds up to 500 miles per hour. Approximately 80% of tsunamis are caused by earthquakes. These seismic events shift the Earth's surface, displacing the water above them and creating waves that move quickly in all directions across the ocean. For an earthquake to generate a tsunami, it needs to be large enough and close enough to the ocean floor to cause vertical movement. As the ocean floor shifts up or down, the water above it also moves, creating waves that spread out. The size of the tsunami is determined by how much the ocean floor moves, the area affected, and the depth of the water where it originated. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Hunter Forst.
All right, Hunter, good stuff there. Appreciate that update. And again, with the earthquake that just occurred offshore from Turkey, there is no tsunami warning issued with that. But of course, we'll keep an eye to all of the seismic activity, earthquakes and tsunamis, and we always report on that and share it with you here from the weather desk. All right, we had a soggy start to our early morning here in Hampton Roads. I woke up to widespread moderate to heavy rain. That was around 2:30 this morning. On my way in, the roads were wet. There was ponding out there. We have a time lapse we can show you of the rain moving through Virginia Beach Town Center this morning. And again, it was a wet start to the day. The rain at times pretty intense, and we did have quite a bit of lightning with a few of those cells as well. I want to take a look at where we're tracking showers still at this hour. It's largely offshore. Things have gotten better. As we take a look through the overnight, you can see how that wet weather came through. You're going, oh, okay, just some cells here. Doesn't look that impressive, but I can tell you that heavy rain came through over the span of a few hours, and it did add up to some pretty significant rainfall across parts of the area. So let's take a closer look at the rainfall. You'll notice those areas off to the north really didn't see much at all. And when we talked about that smoke kind of wafting down from the New Jersey wildfires, it's areas off to the north, Maryland, back over to the northern neck, the Middle Peninsula, where you may find a little bit of smoke in the air. Here, where we had more rain, it's not as big an issue. We can zoom in and take a look at the radar estimates. And again, this is just by the radar detecting the intensity of the rain, then takes a look at the duration with the intensity, and it gives approximation. And I've selected several different locations. So let's plot those for you. You can see about a ½ an inch East End, Newport News, around a ½ an inch to 6/10 of an inch, not too far from the airport. I'll give you the official update from the airport coming up in a couple of moments here. About a third of an inch around the north end of Virginia Beach. So not a tremendous amount, but a nice little soaker early this morning. Once you come south of Norfolk into northern parts of Chesapeake, there you are closer to an inch. Western parts of Chesapeake out around Deep Creek and areas west of that, over an inch. And you get down around the Dismal Swamp just north of Lake Drummond. They picked up 1.8 inches by radar estimate. Down across southern Suffolk, some areas close to an inch and a half. So those are some of the reports. In northeast North Carolina, we had some heavy amounts of rain as well. We'll put those up. You can see about 1 3/4 inches. The largest that we saw by radar estimate, 2 inches there, and that was back down into Bertie County there south and to the southeast of Windsor. Along the northern coast here of the Albemarle Sound, about 1.1 inches there, not too far from Jaycox. We only had about 1/10 of an inch in Elizabeth City and just under an inch around Poplar Branch and back over towards the Outer Banks there at Currituck. So I was looking at some varying amounts of more intense rain kind of in pockets. Down around Manio, we picked up 1/3 of an inch. So a good soaking rain overnight for much of the area. Places that missed out off to the north. We're talking about the northern neck, the middle peninsula. But those areas have been pretty good with rainfall. It's these areas down here that have actually been in need of a little more rain. So that's not a bad thing. All right, so we had our rain this morning. You can see as we look ahead, our next chances for rain, we're going to be dry later today and now into Thursday. Friday, there's a low risk. I don't think we're going to see much. I do expect showers and some thunderstorms to develop as we go later in the afternoon and evening. So some scattered wet weather potentially on Saturday. After that, things will be improving. Now, we look ahead out 8 to 14 days, wetter than normal in the south central U.S. Should be pretty close, or at least equal chances wet or dry across the north central U.S. Maybe a little bit drier up across eastern Montana into North Dakota and drier along the California coast. That's the precip outlook out 8 to 14 days for that first week of May. As we take a look at the temperatures, it is going to be above average here in the mid-Atlantic. Pretty toasty from New Jersey and Pennsylvania down through Maryland and Delaware. Of course, you see much of Virginia and North Carolina expected very good chances to be well above average. As you look back across parts of the Southwest here, maybe slightly below average in West Texas, but pretty much close to average in this area. Also warmer than average for the Northwest. Now, yesterday, if you watch, we talked about the summer outlook. I don't think everybody watches the weather desk every day. We certainly hope you do. But if you missed it yesterday, I thought I'd just share one more time the temperature outlook for June, July, and August. So this is a look ahead, the latest look at our summer months. Warm for the Northeast, down here through the mid-Atlantic, and Florida looking pretty warm as well. Also warm out over the western U.S. The one area that'll be closer to average, maybe slightly above the Great Lakes region and back across the upper central U.S. So that's how things are looking. Pretty toasty summer upcoming across much of the continental United States. All right, let's take a look at April, what we've gone through so far this month. You remember January in Hampton Roads at Norfolk, one of the coldest on records and like just around the top 10. You can see we've dealt with some warmer weather, some cooler weather, kind of back and forth. For April, it started off pretty toasty. Temperatures upper 80s. In fact, we made 91 degrees on the 6th of April, one of the earliest days at 90 or warmer on record for Hampton Roads. Then we had that cool stretch of weather that second week through the following Sunday. Got a couple warm days, a little bit cooler. We got warm again as we got into this past weekend, and we've been on a hot stretch the last 5 days. Temperatures have been well above average up into the 80s. Today, we swing back the other way. We'll go upper 60s this afternoon and into the low 70s. I think we were already around 70 this morning, but we are going to be a little cooler through the afternoon. Tomorrow's going to be close to average, maybe slightly above, but very close to it. Our normal high is about 73 degrees now, and then we'll be in the upper 70s for Friday into the weekend. Warm on Saturday, and then cool again Sunday into Monday. Another warm-up coming for the middle of next week. So that's a look ahead. Now, I mentioned the rainfall. We had some that second week. We were dry all this previous week up until this morning, and we did get some rain. So I went back, took a look at the hourly reports, and the rain total officially at Norfolk International since midnight, 0.62 inches. So all of this fell after midnight. That's why you didn't see it in that graphic there. This will add to the total. So let's take a look. Adding that to the 11.18 inches, that's going to bring our yearly total since January 1 to 11.80 inches. And that's going to cut our departure in half. We go from 1.24 inches below average to about 0.62 inches. So we cut that departure in half just based on the rainfall that we saw since midnight this morning. Yesterday's high was 85. I mentioned it was warm. Normally we're at 73 and 52. We're going to be very close to the low in the low to mid 50s tonight, and then tomorrow we'll be in the low to mid 70s. So we are getting back closer to average. So what's next? Well, for Hampton Roads, gradual clearing this afternoon. We're going to enjoy some more sunshine breaking through the clouds. As I mentioned, noticeably cooler. Yesterday's high was 85. Today, we're going to live in the upper 60s to low 70s for most of the region. Showers and storms possible again late Saturday. One of my friends and somebody that I'm going to be featuring in an upcoming story, they have a special wedding planned outdoors Saturday night. I'm keeping a close eye on that forecast for those folks. I always think about all these great events going on around Hampton Roads, and you want good weather for it. It looks like Saturday may be a little touch and go, so you definitely want to stay tuned for forecast updates. Take a look at the ocean waters here. I'm pointing this out. We're looking at it live together. This is the sky view. Looks like the sun's starting to reflect, kind of breaking through the clouds a little bit. Certainly, there are some thin spots in those clouds, but I'm seeing a little more sunlight reflecting off some of the waves there, and it's really a pretty good day out on the water as we check things out with the Thompson Creek Window Company Sky View. Look at how quiet the beach is. When temperatures were well into the 80s on Saturday, the beaches were jumping with activity. Lots going on. Right now, 64 at the airport, northeast winds just 7 miles per hour. Winds have really relax or kind of live in that 5 to maybe 10 or 5 to 15 mile per hour range today. Temperatures right now, low to mid 60s. It's staying cool, low to mid 60s near the coast as well. Temperatures this afternoon getting back into the upper 60s, maybe some low 70s inland. Last of the showers, still maybe a couple little stragglers around the southern part of the Outer Banks, but most of the area is dry. As we go through the afternoon, start looking for some more pockets of sunshine kind of breaking through, and then skies are gradually going to clear tonight. It'll become partly cloudy. We may see a few clouds early tomorrow, but generally it's going to become mostly sunny, especially as we go past noon and into the afternoon. I expect a beautiful Thursday. As we get into Thursday evening, things look good as well. Looking ahead to Friday, that's when we'll see temperatures starting to warm a bit more, and then that chance for wet weather coming up on Saturday. Now, in order to give you a look ahead to the weekend, we're going to switch our models up from that high-res model I was just showing you. That was the HER model. Now we're going to take you to the Euro, and the European model again showing some more of that clearing as we go through the day on Thursday, looking pretty good across most of the area. Friday, low risk of a shower down to the south. I'm not too concerned with it, but I'll say there's a 20% chance, maybe a little pop-up shower here or there. Looking ahead to Saturday, now we've got a cold front approaching. Notice the winds shifting around to the northwest and the west out here behind the frontal boundary. It'll be out to the west early on Saturday, but as Saturday continues, we'll see the winds picking up from the southwest, driving our temperatures up, and by afternoons, isolated to scattered showers will be possible. Heading into the evening, a little more focus here with that front cutting through the area. Southwest winds ahead of the front, winds shifting to the northwest behind it. That front will be the focus for more intense rainfall and possibly a few stronger storms as well. That's at 7 o'clock Saturday evening. That will clear the area as we go towards midnight. The winds shift to the north, and it looks like Sunday's going to clear out beautifully. So we'll have cooler conditions on Sunday and into early next week. Monday looks good as well. We'll see those winds coming back around with yet another warm up through the middle of next week. So that's what's in the forecast as we look ahead. All right, I showed you at the ocean front with our sky view how nice it was on the water. Not a lot of wave action. The ocean waters, waves running about 2 to 3 feet. The seas there in the Chesapeake Bay, the lower part of the bay, the waves more like 1 to 2 feet. And again, the winds northeast 10 to 15 knots. High tide early this morning was at 5:41. The low tide comes just after noon today. As we take a look at the allergy report, tree pollen continues to be high. Not as bad as it was yesterday, but still high. Grass pollen is low. Forecast today, upper 60s for most areas, the metro area and close to the coast. Some inland areas, low to mid 70s. Again, skies mostly cloudy for a while, but we should start seeing a few more breaks in the clouds. It's going to be cooler up on the eastern shore. Matthews also a little cooler, upper 60s for Hampton, low 70s for Elizabeth City, mid 70s for Edenton. At the Outer Banks, showers winding down, but there could still be a sprinkle or two over the next couple of hours. I do expect things to improve through the afternoon down that way. Temperatures tonight near 53. That is close to average. Tomorrow, low to mid 70s. As I mentioned, seasonably mild. Mostly sunny, looking good for your Thursday and for your Friday as well. As we head to Saturday, that's when scattered showers and storms are going to be more likely during the afternoon and into the evening. Once that front clears Saturday night, we're going to see more sunshine coming up on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday looking good. Upper 60s for Sunday, Monday in the low 70s, and back up to near 80 on Tuesday. I know we've covered a lot today with the weather desk. If you want more weather information or if you're worried about showers impacting your weekend plans, stay in touch with our forecast. And you can do that by scanning this QR code and downloading the 13 News Now mobile app. What a resource. You've got access to all of our forecast information, live weather coverage, the radar. It's all there for you on your time on the go. So make sure you download the 13 News Now weather app. All right, hopefully, I just said weather app. It's a news app, but it's got a great and extensive weather section. All right, the weather desk again. Hopefully you've enjoyed this edition of it. We do today's top weather headlines from across the region, across the country, and around the world. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We'll look forward to doing it again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Have a great day.